Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This program has been appropriately named All Are Welcomed at the Master's Table. And so I stand to give a brief overview of how this will proceed. The very thesis thought, the thematic emphasis of the program is all are welcome to the Master, all are welcome at the Master's table. Therefore, this is a celebration of grace. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. All are welcomed at the Master's table is consistent with the theme of grace and mercy. The gospel group, contemporary gospel group, Sidewalk Prophets, I think put it in vocal tones and highlight the concept that today is somewhat elegant. They made it nice in poetry. We all start on the outside looking in. That's where grace begins. We were hungry, we were thirsty, with nothing left to give. Oh, the shape that we were in. Just then, when all hope seemed lost, love opened the door for us. He said, "Come to the table, come join the sinners who have been redeemed. Take your place beside the Savior. Sit down and be set free. Come to the table. Come meet this motley crew of misfits, these liars and these thieves. There's no one unwelcomed here. So that sin and shame that you brought with you, you could leave it at the door. Let mercy draw you near. Come to the table. Come join the sinners who've been redeemed. Take your place beside the Savior. Sit down and be set free. Come to the table." They go on. To the thief and to the doubter, to the hero and the coward, to the prisoner and the soldier, to the young and to the older, all who hunger, all who thirst, all the last and all the first, all the paupers and the princes, all who fail and have been forgiven, all who dream and all who suffer, all who loved and lost another, all the chained and all the free, all who follow, all who lead anyone who's been let down, all the lost, you have been found. All who have been labeled right or wrong, to everyone who hears this song, come to the table. Come to the table. I like the words of that contemporary gospel song. They seem to me, in a very deliberate manner, represent a program to celebrate the life of someone when the program says all are welcome at the Master's table. It is a story of the welcoming love of God's grace and mercy, according to Ephesians chapter 2, verses 7 to 9. For by grace you have been saved through faith, that not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, so that none of us would be able to boast. So the core of the program is music. The gathering is for the reflection on the life of Samuel Martinborough, in an attempt to remind his family and friends about his hope and their hope and the reasons for all our hope and the expectations of a blessed future as we all deal with grief and death and the resurrection. So Sammy's life and works will be presented, illustrated, and remembered by the presentations today. We will receive the blessings of today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. We will receive these blessings. The first presentation will be a photographic rendition of portions of his life and works, as they will be remembered by the song, When I Hear the Trumpet Sound in the Morning. It is a duet by Sam Martinborough and Harold de Freitas, accompanied by the great Cynthia Ward. When the noted agnostic Robert Ingersoll died, the printed funeral announcement said, "There will be no singing." I heard this particular story referenced not so long ago. Those of you who were there remember the preacher make reference to that. What the preacher did not say is that in a little program thereafter, someone wrote a little thing called the Sunday School Banner. Look not for hymns, anthems, oratorios, carols, or spiritual songs among infidels, agnostics, nor skeptics. Without God and without Christ, without redemption, without a divine revelation, and without hope, what have they to sing about? We have something to sing about today. We have something to listen to music about today, because Sammy sang about something, and he believed in music. It was Moody who said, when criticized for the joy of his hymns, he said, "Is the devil alone supposed to have all the good times?" Christians need to be reminded of that more often than not. A few weeks ago, somebody reminded me that we should never forget that death is an enemy. Every now and then I go around funeral services and I would hear people say, "God did this." And I'm usually troubled. So whenever I stand to introduce a program or to speak at a program like this, I like to remind us that death is the work of an enemy. Death is an enemy, and it is the work of an enemy. Sin and death. So we come to celebrate Sam's life in a manner that we think represents the art, passion, music, and life that he lived for. They will be singing at this service, unlike the singing at the other service. And we're looking forward to singing another time at another service. That is still to come. Didn't the poet say, "There is singing up in heaven, such as we have never known, when the angels sing the praises of the Lamb upon the throne. Their sweet harps are ever tuneful, and their voices always clear. Oh, that we might be more like them while we serve the Master here." Holy, holy is what the angels sing. And I expect to help them when make the courts of heaven sing. But when I sing redemption's story, they will fold their wings, for angels never felt the joys that our salvation brings. But I hear another anthem, blending voices clear and strong, unto him who hath redeemed us and hath brought us in the song. We have come through tribulation to the land so fair and bright, in the fountain freely flowing. He had made our garments right. So, although Sammy was not an angel, yet he knew that over there he will join a blessed chorus, Sister Wade, that the angels cannot share. He will sing about his Savior, who upon dark Calvary freely pardoned our transgressions, died to set all sinners free. Holy, holy is what the angels sing, and we expect to help them when the courts of heaven ring. But when Sammy sings redemption story, they will fold their wings, for angels never felt the joys that our salvation brings. There is singing at this program. There will be singing in the other program. We will be blessed by the presentations. God bless you.
When shall I see Jesus and reign with him above, and shall hear the trumpet sound in that morning, and from the flowing fountain drink everlasting love, and hear the trumpet sound in that morning. Oh, shout glory, I shall mount above the skies, when I hear the trumpet sound in that morning. Oh, shout glory, I shall mount above the skies, when I hear the trumpet sound in that morning. But now I am a soldier, my captain's gone before, and I hear the trumpet sound in that morning. He's given me my orders, and he bids me near give o'er, when I hear the trumpet sound in that morning. Oh, shout, I shall mount above the skies, when I hear the trumpet sound in that morning. When shall I be delivered from this dark world of sin, and shall hear the trumpet sound in that morning, and with my blessed Jesus drink endless pleasures in, and shall hear the trumpet sound in that morning. Oh, shout glory, glory, I shall mount above the skies, when I hear the trumpet sound in that morning. When I hear the trumpet sound in that morning.
Sam's Story, Act 1. I am born Samuel Neal. It's a bit too much. So, I am Sammy. I am born in Guyana, the first son for Gordon and Waveney Martinborough. I am the middle one. I become creative so I can breathe. I love exploring, and boy, do I explore. Listening, lying on my stomach, to classical LP records. I love to laugh. I am an avid reader. I am extremely sensitive to the needs of others. I love to sing. I fall in love with Mobby and Cheese Straw. I expand my mind at St. Rose's High School, but I truly stretch my wings at Carmel, a church that allows their youth to lead. Here are some stories from that time in Guyana, from Karen Cole, Pastor London, Roxanne Gerd, and a group that I sang with, the Carmel Quartet.
Good morning, family, relatives, and friends who are gathered here today to celebrate Samuel's life. I'm Karen Cole, a childhood friend, and today I feel very honored to have this noble opportunity to pay tribute to my good friend Samuel Martinborough. On behalf of the Coles family, as Carmelites, I would like to express heartfelt sorrow to Sister Waveney Martinborough on the passing of your son, and to Esther and John on the loss of your brother. God promises in Psalms 34:18 to be close to the brokenhearted, and He will help you to walk on through the rain, through the storm, and you'll never walk alone. We fondly called him Sammy. I knew Samuel while growing up together as teenagers in Guyana and attending Carmel Seventh-day Adventist Church. From my recollection, Sammy was always involved in the church's activities and added so much vibrancy to its programs. He served in various capacities, took on leadership responsibilities, and led numerous young Adventists to have a more meaningful relationship with God and a purposeful life. Samuel's Junior Adventist youth programs were stellar. They were filled with creative ideas and intricate details. He was a choir director and conducted countless riveting Sabbath programs with plays and songs. His goal was successful outcomes, which meant there was a regular practice session during the week to bring such programs to fruition. Samuel was a motivator of the youths he worked with, and they were committed to the programs he led. He was a detail-oriented and organized leader of the Pathfinders Club. Samuel was a remarkable teenager. We had so many successful camps and retreats at the various campsites in the Guyana Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. These were no small feats. His plans were thorough, since back then there were no cell phones. We were bereft of all modern conveniences and resources. Sammy was truly remarkable. As I reflect, Sammy provided engaging activities, and for most of us, it was our safe haven. He has been a blessing to many, and his powerful influence was multiplied through hundreds. Sam provided enjoyable activities that helped to captivate and develop young people into responsible adults. Those formative years of our youthful interactions in JAY, AY, Pathfinder, Master Guide, choirs, chorale, and quartet has embedded meaningful gems that shine through us today as adults. Samuel's extensive work with the youths of Guyana has rippled way beyond its shores. I know so many of you could testify to this. His work with his foundation, Missing Links, is an outgrowth of what he fostered back then. We were always proud of the way he distinguished himself. As we would say in popular parlance, Sammy did good. He really did. As a quote inscribed on an Irish tombstone says, "Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory no one can steal." So let's cherish the memories, for they will bring us smiles. Sister Martinborough, Esther, and John, we will uphold you in our prayers. And may he rest in peace.
Greetings to all and condolences from my family to all friends and relatives of the deceased. I am Pastor Lawrence B. London, and I was privileged to serve as Associate Pastor of the Georgetown No. 1 District, which at the time included Central, Carmel, and Berea. While I was performing my ministerial duties, I started a Georgetown Mass Choir, and what a joy it was for all the young people involved. Prior to that, I was always involved in music, and I would practice all the groups in the three churches. The quartet music was one of my specialties, and that is where I met Samuel, Johnny, and Esther Martinborough, the three children of my conference president, Pastor G.O. Martinborough. Sammy, as he was affectionately called, was the first tenor in the Carmel Quartet. It was a joy to hear his sweet tenor blending with the other three, Reuben, Leslie, and Floyd. This young man, 16 years of age at the time, assumed the role of assistant to the choir leader, which is myself, and he was very organized and would carefully compile and arrange the music for our choir rehearsals, always smiling as he did so. From that tender age, there were signs of leadership qualities that shone through him. He played the violin and loved music, which became part of his life work. But he loved the people more. He was at times unassuming, but he loved working with the choir members and the AJYs in Pathfinder. I said he loved people and sought to brighten their lives. He actually tried to arrange a wife for me from among the choir members. He picked the girl and everything. It didn't really work out. I loved Sammy, and my life has been better because of his presence and influence. He loved to laugh, just like his dad and his other siblings. He followed his dream of being a music educator. Like all of you, I will miss him, but I look forward to seeing Sammy in heaven, playing and singing for his Lord and Master. Until then, peace be with you, Sister Martinborough, Johnny, Esther, and all other relatives and friends. Thank you for this opportunity.
My name is Miss Roxanne Gerard, and as I reflect about Sammy, 3 things immediately come to my mind about him. His genuine love for people, especially children, his free spirit, his beaming smile and guttural laughter. I remember Sammy and I were involved in running the Pathfinder Club at Carmel Church in Guyana some 30-something plus years ago. It was interesting that he had this ability to pay attention to detail, be meticulous in carrying out any task at hand, but he always did it amidst lots of fun and laughter. Sammy enjoyed planning the Pathfinders Day programs, which included lots of singing, which he loved doing. Sammy had a beaming smile and a guttural laugh, which can stop any feelings of strife or argument, as he always saw the funny side of anything. He had such a free spirit and would take life as it comes. In essence, I cannot remember seeing Sammy worrying about anything. I remember a group of us would hang out together at our different homes, but whatever we were doing, one would always hear peals of laughter ringing in the air. I remember one Sunday, I wasn't feeling so well, so I decided I was not going to go to Pathfinder Club. I was so deep in sleep, but I was awakened by a couple of nudges from someone. I opened my eyes only to see this teenager with his beaming smile, Sammy, saying, "Get up, it's time for club." His smile was a game changer, so how could I be upset? A few minutes later, I was dressed for club, on my way with Sammy by my side. Sammy liked people watching, and from time to time he would mention some things he observed. One of those he referred to as drama of the ages. I can remember assisting Sammy to plan the surprise birthday party of our choir director in the 80s, which was a resounding success. There are some people who grace our lives for a reason, a season, and they leave a lasting impression. Well, Sammy was one of those few people I had the privilege of meeting. When I stop and listen for a few minutes, I can still hear his infectious laughter and see his beaming smile after all these years. Rest in peace, Sammy. Resurrection morning will soon be here. Jesus soon will come. Let's all be faithful. Sincere condolences to Sister Martinborough, Esther, her husband, Johnny, and the rest of the family. Thank you.
Hallelujah, there'll be no more sorrow, there'll be no tomorrow, there'll be no more crying, there'll be no more dying. When I bid farewell to my every care, I'm gonna wipe my weeping eyes. Hallelujah, there'll be no more sorrow, there'll be no tomorrow, there'll be no more crying, there'll be no more dying. When I bid farewell to my every care, I'm gonna wipe my weeping eyes.
I had a loving brother who passed on long before, and I promised him I'll meet him when the
Ring dong bells in heaven I know. Ding dong bells way up in glory. Ding dong. Ding dong bells in heaven I know. Ding dong bells way up in glory. Ring ding dong bells in heaven I know. Hallelujah. There'll be no more sorrow. There'll be no tomorrow. There'll be no more crying. There'll be no more dying. When I bid farewell to my every care, I'm gonna wipe my weeping eyes. Hallelujah. There'll be no more sorrow. There'll be no tomorrow. There'll be no more crying. There'll be no more dying. When I bid farewell to my every care, I'm gonna wipe my weeping eyes.
I had a loving father who passed on long before, and I promised him I'll meet him when the
Ring ding dong bells in heaven I know. Ding dong bells way up in glory. Ding dong. Ding dong bells in heaven I know. Ding dong bells way up in glory. Ring ding dong bells in heaven I know. Hallelujah. There'll be no more sorrow. There'll be no tomorrow. There'll be no more crying. There'll be no more dying. When I bid farewell to my every care, I'm gonna wipe my weeping eyes. Hallelujah. There'll be no more sorrow. There'll be no tomorrow. There'll be no more crying. There'll be no more dying. When I bid farewell to my every care, I'm gonna wipe my weeping eyes. Wipe my weeping eyes. I'm gonna wipe my weeping
Sam's Story, Act 2. I am strong. I know what I want to do with my life. Music. I simply need the training. I attend Caribbean Union College, now USC, Atlantic Union College, and Emerson College. I attach myself to musical icons, Rosie and Cynthia Ward, Dr. Vernon Andrews, Dennis Cadden, and Doctors Marjorie and William Ness. I learn and listen to every piece of music I can find. I look around. There are a lot of young people. I form a choir, of course. I am becoming strong. I go to Antigua, leading choirs and winning competitions. I return to AUC. I fight for the rights of students. I give the administration hell. I attend Emerson College. And now I am trained. I have an associate's degree from CUC, a bachelor's in music and education and voice from AUC, and a master's in drama, applied theater, and education from Emerson College. I am strong. I am no longer Samuel or Sammy. I am Sam. Here are some stories from the training time from Harold De Freitas, better known as Tchaikovsky, Dr. Jason Max Ferdinand, chair of the music department at Oakwood University, the Sutton family, members of Sam's choir at CUC, and Sharon Hamill, a fellow AUC graduate.
Anyone who has encountered Sammy knows that there is no one word, idea, or concept that could adequately capture his character. With this in mind, we will give a small insight as a tribute to the excellent spirit that resided in our dear friend. The approximate year and a half he spent in Antigua teemed and pulsated with activities, superlative in distinction. From day one, his irresistible personality earned him sonship in our family. That also meant that he was immersed in an environment of teachers. For Sammy, that was like real meeting ideal, an intellectual kid in a candy store. He found time and ways to improve and inspire each of us in 4 different settings and locations. As a second-grade teacher at the SDA school, he inspired not only his students, but gave exemplary encouragement to his colleagues. In this same setting, he took the school choir beyond their wildest dreams of vocal performance. Then there were church choirs and concerts. Name it and it was done, all with high commendations. And no, that was not all. He taught violin lessons after school as well. Then he did the ultimate. He turned our wedding ceremony into a musical, with decorations, seating arrangements, choreography, and choral music. We will always treasure that gift, because he gave his all to make it happen. Above all his genius, his capabilities, his giftedness, his creativity, was that non-transferable attribute, selflessness, which placed him in a class attainable only to a few. It is this that endeared him to us and to the many thousands with whom he interacted. It is this that we memorialize today, from Claudette and Harold De Freitas.
It is on this very sad occasion that we, the Sutton family, have come together to express our condolences to the Martinboroughs and friends on the very sad occasion of the death of Samuel Sammy Martinborough. Sammy, as we all called him, he clearly was very dear to all of us, and he played a tremendous role in our development on the campus of Caribbean Union College. And this afternoon, as we share some of the stories and experiences, we hope that these stories will help to encourage you through this very dark and challenging time. Ozzy, Horatio will go first.
Thank you very much, Carlisle. Sammy played a very instrumental role in my development as a toddler growing up. And I say toddler because at the young age of 4, he and I sang a duet in church. He stood by my side and he helped me through that scary moment. The name of that song was I'm Something Special. I will share with you a verse and part of the chorus of that song. It goes, when Jesus sent you to us, we loved you from the start. You were just a bit of sunshine from heaven to our hearts. Not just another baby, for since the world began, there's something very special for you in his plan. And the chorus went, that's why he made you special. You're the only one of your kind. That song stayed with me throughout the years. And I'd like to personally give my condolences to the Martinborough family during this time of bereavement.
Okay. Well, for me, what I can say about Sammy is that he definitely was an all-inclusive person. He made sure that each choir member had a role to play. I can clearly remember when he would have sets of groups within the main choir. And the first one he would have formed would be the one called Heavenly Lights. That would have been comprised of the older members of the choir. And looking on the younger ones, we felt, a bit left out. And he very nicely said, no, let them go ahead. I'll form another group with you. And that is what he did. No, we were a bunch of cute kids. Energetic, but cute kids. And we looked forward to choir practice. Not just to sing, but we had so much stories to tell when we met with our peers. And Ms. Martinborough, I need to say, not once did Sammy ever use colorful language on us, but he did say hush. And when he said hush, his eyes would open up very widely, and we would know that, okay, Sammy's serious now. He's vexed. So let us zip it until later. One of the other things he would also tell us to do is project our voice and open our mouth. And so he would teach us or tell us to hold our fists, put it into our mouth, and then la, 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 or whatever it is to get us to open up our jaws so that we can, project. Another last thing he was known to, for me, I can remember is that song, I Want an Elephant for Christmas. So he was totally into the drama where he would have gotten us to make an elephant out of cardboard. And we all were bundled under this cardboard elephant. And of course, as kids, you would know coming down to the end, somebody tripped and fell, and that was it. The elephant came crashing down. All in all, there were very fond memories of Sammy. And I just want to say to his family and his close friends, offer my deepest condolences. And we do look forward to a day where death will definitely be no more.
Well, my memories of Sammy was that he was like a big brother to me. Sammy would push me, would encourage me to sing. On Sabbath mornings in particular, Sammy had me, and it was he and I who would go down to the junior primary Sabbath school class, and we would sing to them and teach them the Sabbath school memory verse. Sammy would also encourage me to sing. In the song "I Want an Elephant for Christmas," Sammy was kind of pushing me to sing that, but I didn't bite. But there were the other times when he pushed me and encouraged me. We went to a church down south, and I did do a solo there also. Sammy was a big brother. There was a time when my voice was breaking, and I remember at practice at night, he was so annoyed with us because we weren't singing and my voice was breaking, and he dismissed everybody. And so I kind of stayed back and cried with him, or cried to him that I was experiencing this thing. And he said, well, he would check it out. And he did, and came back to me and said, well, it's a phase and I will grow out of it. And I guess I did. But Sammy he loved his music. He loved his music. Sammy not only took us, the junior choir, to different places, but he took the Pathfinder Club to places to sing. He took us as a whole to the hospital. And he really loved his music. Again, that he loved the sound of, like, pictures like Sound of Music, pictures like Fiddler on the Roof, pictures like My Fair Lady. Because of Sammy's love for those pictures and the frequent talking of these pictures, we watched them. And he also attempted to do Alice in Wonderland with some adult college students, but it was good. Sammy, hilarious, fun, supportive, and well, we missed that when he left. And I know Martinborough family, you will continue to miss that of him, but we have this hope because he taught us several songs like My Lord is Like a Shepherd. He taught us Father, Lead Me Day by Day. And because of those songs, we trust that he indeed found his Father, Heavenly Father, as a friend, and hopefully we'll see him when our Father will come again. Carlisle?
So I hope you heard from all of us the enthusiasm that is in our voices as we reflect on the time that we spent with Sammy. He came to CUC and he found a campus that didn't have all the mechanisms in place to support the growth and development of the children, of the faculty and staff. And Sammy stepped up to the challenge and developed choirs. He developed drama groups. He really pushed us. He caused us to start to dream, and see things that were possible, beyond that which we thought at the time to be possible. And he was definitely a means of inspiration. He got us to work together as children. We formed relationships, and had experiences within that group that lasted our lives basically. And we would ever be grateful for the role that he played in our development at that critical time, on the campus of Caribbean College. He touched absolutely the lives of all the faculty and staff there through what he did with the children on campus. And for that, we will forever be grateful. And of course, Mrs. Martinborough, we know that at this point in time, you are especially grieved. And so we want to thank you for the role that you played in causing Sammy to be able to develop the skill set that he used and the empathy that he used to be able to come to minister to us. For indeed, it was a ministry that he did with us on campus. And to the rest of the family, we experienced loss of not having him around as well. And we definitely want you to know that you are in our prayers, that we care about you, and that if you need anything, please do reach out, and we're here for you. But we look forward to the day, as Torres and Rosie said, and Ozzy as well, to the day when we will be in that heavenly choir, where we will not be told to hush, but we will all be able to basically open our mouths and project and look. I can still imagine right now, basically, Sammy with that big laugh and cracking up and holding his jaw, at the thought of seeing his Heavenly Father. And I believe that on that grand and glorious day, we will be reunited with him. And of course, we will sing that song, which will go on forever and ever and ever. And there'll be no more tears and, no more sadness. But until that day, please know that we care about you, and we know that your Heavenly Father will be especially close to you at this time as well. So, please be encouraged. Know that we care for you, and God cares for you, and He too grieves about this very, very sad moment. So, be encouraged, and our deepest condolences again. Take care.
Dearest Waveney, John, and Esther, Sam's larger family and friends, I'm honored to be able to share a tribute for this occasion for Sam, especially during this time of great grief for your family with the recent losses you've experienced. The words that come to my mind and heart when I think of Sam are gracious, real, and alive. Sam, an impactful advocate, inspired so many through his artistic musical performances with his singing, speaking, and metaphorical voice. Sam, an avid follower of his heart, was genuine. Samuel Martinborough held himself to a high standard of respect for all things living. I observed this in his many arenas. Our undergraduate days at Atlantic Union College, as choir director at the conference music festivals, presentations he made for fellow music and arts educators at the Music Educators National and State Conferences, performances and workshops with the Handel and Haydn Society Vocal Quartet, with the students at the Amigo School where we both taught, with his own Boston operatic enterprise, Missing Links, and in our friendship. Aliveness, grace, and care, and fascination came through in all Sam did. It's these memories I and you and all of us will hold closest to our hearts. To quote Viktor Frankl, the salvation of man is through love and in love. Even when one has nothing left in this world, one may still know bliss, be it only for a brief moment in the contemplation of his beloved. Waveney, John, and Esther, Sam's larger family and friends, I wish you, in contemplating our enduring friendships with Sam, may we know bliss, grace, and life, and may we be satisfied. Set Sam like a seal upon thy heart, for love is as strong as death. This past week, I drove by a few of our favorite spots to contemplate and reminisce. Sam, your friendship meant the world to me. I'm going to miss you more than I can say. I look forward to meeting you on the other side, on the other shore. I love you. Your friend, Sharon.
Sam's Story, Act 3. I will sing. I teach at many schools, including South Lancaster Academy, Boston Arts Academy, the Margarita Munoz Academy, and the Amigo School. I see the gaps, I understand the needs. I will sing, I will create, I will provide what is missing, the missing links. I produce theater that is visually stunning, that even the Boston critics will find astounding. I will strive to engage, creating community and a sense of wholeness through intense personal growth. I teach in unconventional ways, utilizing everything available to me: entertainment, comedy, drama, theater, dance, nature, and dialogue. I promote understanding. I will make music accessible, all music to everyone. I perform with the Handel and Hayden Society Educational Outreach Quartet. I conduct diverse choirs, including the Community Music Center Youth Chorus, Una Voz, Kaleidoscope, the choir at the Congregational Church in Weston, Massachusetts. I am the Repertoire and Standards Chairperson for the Massachusetts chapter of the American Choral Directors Association. I will guide and mentor. I establish missing links, collaborating with countless organizations, including the Boston Opera, Roebuck Center, and the Roebury Center for the Arts and Heberman Hall, and the Boston Collegiate Charter Schools. I am a passionate advocate for social justice. I will sing, I will laugh. I bring people together. Here are just a few of the many pictures and stories from this creative time, from Missing Link students and co-creators Milan Anderson, Trinidad Ramkinsoon, Jason Gutu, and Jermaine Tulloch.
Every step along your way will bring you closer to me, and every sound my mouth creates will lure you nearer to me. Wade into the water till The way you felt inside, the way you felt inside.
Missing Links is specifically for schools that do not have a good music program.
It was kind of my response to the lack of education and resources given specifically to kids who wanted to become professional singers.
It's kind of like it's refreshing. It's like I come here and I know everybody's going to be on the same page that I'm on. Everybody loves music. Everybody wants to do music.
There's so many bits and pieces of things that you need to know. You need to know languages. You need to know music theory. You need to understand how to interact with text. But then you also need to know how to play the piano. So for me, Missing Links is kind of that way of allowing kids to really interact with all of the information that they need to know so that they can make a really good choice.
What I like most about Missing Links is the opportunity.
But to come to a place where everybody knows that this is what they want to be doing with their lives, it's amazing.
I absolutely love Missing Links. I can't even put like words on it. I just feel really free here. Every time I'm here, I feel more and more like myself.
We are focused pretty much on the urban community. We're looking at urban and minority kids for whom the resources aren't always there.
Because I was one of those kids. So for me, it's that place where I could come here and learn everything I need to learn before I go out to my professional world. You put it in perspective, and you're like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do it. I got to get on top of it. I got to be on point. He puts those links in us that are missing. So I think that's what Missing Links is.
That's deep. I felt it.
I met Sam based on pure luck. He taught at BCCS music, and somehow out of the 4 years that I should have once been placed in music class, I was always placed in art. So I had heard of him. I heard that he was, helping everyone learn how to sing, and he was bringing them to competitions, and I was always sad that I never got to go to that class or even meet the person. But one lucky day, I ended up seeing one of my art teachers inside of the library, and he was talking with someone. So I went in to go see what was up, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Eater, how's it going? Like, what's going on?" And then he introduced me to Sam because they were chatting it up about Sam's production. And the minute we locked eyes, he was just like, "You want to audition? Yeah, you want to audition?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, I've never. Okay, cool." He gave me the rundown of Tree Militia. We love that. Good memories. And after he gave me the rundown, he just said, "Okay, cool. Come back and think of a song, and then in like 10 minutes, come back and we'll do it." I walked out. I went back in. I sang my little heart out, and he let me into the group, and I was excited. I was never, brave enough to do anything like that in school by myself, and for some reason he was just such a warm person to, I don't know, he's magnetic, if we're gonna say that too. He is very magnetic, and I just felt every bit of trust that I could have for a person that I had never met a day in my life as soon as I had seen him, and that was such a great moment. I'm so thankful for Tree Militia. That was the best thing that I could have done or been introduced to be introduced to this field, this industry, this form of art. And I honestly do not think that I would have gotten anywhere near acting or singing or anything that I truly love to do if it were not for Sam. And so from that moment on, I was a Missing Links kid. All of the programs, all of the after school things, helping out when he was at other schools and doing little audition videos and helping there. And I honestly feel like Sam, he is probably the one person in life who is most like me, myself. I didn't realize it at the time while I was growing up, but I now see that he is the one person, he is the one person that made me realize how okay it is to be this exuberant person, a person with a whole bunch of love to give and a whole bunch of energy and a whole bunch of you know. I definitely always felt weird because other people weren't like that. Other people were calm, other people were normal, other people were trying to be cool, and it just never really fit me. And I'm now realizing how much of myself I've been able to become okay with and share with everyone else and not censor myself off or block myself because he was there. Like many others, he definitely was a father figure to me, and I am just so thankful for him. From him being Mr. Martinborough to going to Sam to going to Smartinborough, even though he didn't really like that one as much, you know, to being in all of the programs and seeing how much love he has for his students and not caring what anyone thinks and just doing all he could to be the best possible Sam that he could be and spread love and just, I don't know, just be a supernova. He is everything. He will always be everything. He helped me with all of my college essays, you know, made sure that I was all set because no one else in my school had ever done this type of career. So I heavily leaned on him and he gave everything that he could. And just being so wonderful. I don't know. Sam's definitely one of those people where there's so much to say about him, and yet when you need to say it, it's hard to explain because he is that amazing. Yeah, I love you, Sam. Thank you so much for being you, not being afraid to be you. Yeah. Well, that's it. I love you. I will pick up all of the birdie feathers that I can find and send them off to heaven.
You know, Sam trained me. I'm supposed to be good at public speaking. I was the kid at the end of the video. I've known Sam half my life. And I would always come to him frustrated. When I met Sam, I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to write. So words were important to me. I had a hunger for understanding words. I needed to. I was obsessed with it. And so I would hear these sayings and I wouldn't understand them. And I would go to him and I would be frustrated and I would say, Sam, I don't understand why I can't eat my cake and have it too. I just don't understand it, Sam. Why would I have cake and not want to eat it? And Sam would just stand there and look at me. And he said, how can you possess what you consumed? And then I realized in that moment that words sound cute until they sound profound. And that's what he did for my life. My life was cute until it became profound. And he understood that. And see, Sam loved to talk. He loved to talk. He did not like to listen. I'm lying. He did like to listen. What he heard. So I met Sam years ago, and he was doing a production, and I came to see it. I was a kid from Cambridge, and we were doing this exchange, and I was like, I would love to work with you if there's ever an opportunity. I'm an actor. So I left that conversation telling a director that I'm an actor. He didn't hear that. He said that I was a singer in his head. But in my head, I still said I was an actor, so he contacted me, and he said, hey, I have this production, Into the Woods, and there's a narrator that I would love for you to play. And in my understanding of a narrator, you're going to be speaking. So I said, great, I'm an actor, I could do that. So I went to rehearsal for the first day, and I got a music sheet, and I just learned how to read. I'm like, you want me to read music? What are you talking about? But again, in his head, I was a singer. In his head, I had a voice. And I didn't understand it. I didn't comprehend how he could think that I had a voice. That he thought that I had the privilege to be in a company that he cultivated with young people that had the right to be there. I couldn't acquire how he believed that. But again, words are cute until they're profound. See, Sam didn't want me to sing. He wanted me to unleash my voice. And I've known him for years. And so I would say, I'm an actor, and he said, no, you're a singer. And I said, no, I'm an actor, and he said, you're a singer. And I said, no. And so there would be constantly these times where in my life, we would have this friction. And we did a production of Guys and Dolls. And I played Benny South Street. And we're doing the production. And several actors walk out. And I was like, what? I'm backstage like, oh no, you ain't about to have me go up there singing. So Sam comes back. And he says, hey, we're going to keep doing the show. I said, bro, the lead just left. What are you talking about? We're going to do the show. I'm not getting on stage, bro. Like, what? I can't sing, Sam. What are you, no, I'm not going on that stage. And he said, okay. So I walked away from that conversation thinking we weren't doing the show. A knock on the door. The stage minister said, hey, we have 2 minutes to showtime. I'm packing my bag, about to leave to go home, like, yo, I'm packing it up. And again, he heard what he wanted to hear. And you hear these things, you hear these sayings until they make sense. Right? Because before, it was about consuming, right? Cake was about eating it, but there's something precious about having it in your possession, having access to the tools that's been gifted to you. And so, you would always hear in theater, the show must go on. You would always hear it. And it sounded cute. It was like, oh man, that's amazing. The show must go on. You really didn't understand it until I met Sam. And the show went on. And in my entire career, I've always kept that in my practice. I've always pivoted. I've always been able to understand that the show will keep going, that if you lose an actor, that's okay. If you have 30 minutes, but you're at 45, you can shave it down. You can figure it out. I can't pivot from this. He didn't prepare me for this. We had plans. We were going to write shows together. We were going to teach classes together. We were going to write books together. I don't know how to pivot from this. And I would go to Sam. So this morning, as I was getting prepared, I just went to Sam. And so we would do this thing called visualization, where we would quest into the future that we have yet to behold. And so he would guide us in it. So I invite you to do a visualization with me. And if you feel inclined, I invite you to close your eyes. And take an opportunity to not go forward, but to go back. In the same way that in order for you to go on a swing, you must go back before you go forward. And so I ask for you to venture back to a moment in your life when you're with Sam and you see the crease of his smile and you see the twinkle in his eye and you see the wants that he has for you that you have yet to discover, that you have yet to behold. And I ask you to hold on to that and to carry it forward like that swing, because the show must go on. And as you have that memory in your head, I ask for it to transport to your heart. And keep it there so that Sam's Stories goes on. Thank you all so much.
I cannot speak or put words to my grief. My joy is that I have been able to know Sam and hear his symphony in my life. So I have compiled a short list of requests I feel Sam has made for all of us. Each one is plucked from the poetry and art of Sam, which he has shared with me. And so in Sam's words, I share these requests with you. Be a unique spoken song. Build a safety for others to breathe. Always make space to listen. Please go easy on the growing pains. Make all the right mistakes. Go even into the bleak. Ride the laugh tides until your belly aches. Brighten the corner where you are. Nurture the honored gifts placed in your care and the stumbling, weary wanderer. Take happy dream flights to see me. Make sure to bring water and hand cream. And please go easy on the growing pains. Thank you for letting me share. Our hearts grieve with you. From Jason and Josie.
What an honor it is to be here today, to hear so many wonderful memories of the life of Sam. For me, Sam drove me crazy. Sam drove me crazy. I met Sam in the 10th grade in 2003 at Boston Arts Academy. And like Trinidad, Sam said, "You are a singer." And I said, "What? I don't even sing at church, I usher. What do you mean I'm a singer?" Never grew up singing in the children's choir, never, and my grandfather's a pastor, so I just ushered. But he said, "No, you have a voice on you," and I never thought of myself as having a voice. You know, I was in the voice department, but I wanted to sing in the back of the chorus. And Sam helped me find my voice. And it was a process. That meant going with Sam on Saturdays and Tuesday nights, and this Newton Choral Society, and then after high school, college time came, and there was Sam again. Sam was like a second dad. And I remember college time came, I really didn't, think too heavily about college or different things. And he's like, "You need to go to the conservatory." "Sam, it's June." "What do you mean I need to go to the conservatory? All the places are like, everybody has their place. Everybody's in school. What do you mean? They're getting ready for the fall." So over the summer, Sam gets me an audition at Laundry Conservatory of Music somehow. And I'm like, okay, even if we get the audition, where's the money gonna come from? But with Sam, he's like, "Just keep going, just keep going, just keep going." And I auditioned 3 weeks before school starts, and I get into Laundry Conservatory of Music as one of the 9 students that they accepted as freshmen that year. And Sam continued to drive me crazy. He never let me stop. From the different shows, traveling with him, I was actually the first student of Missing Links, because when he found out we got to college, but we didn't know as much as all the other students coming from these affluent towns, we had to do something about it. So that meant going after school to piano lessons in Newton and to different other things with Sam, and then shows and this, going to the fabric store and getting fabric to sing at the libraries on Saturday, along with some other members, which were called Chrysalis before. Then he went from Chrysalis to form Missing Links. And Sam was like a second dad to us. Parties at his house. If you haven't had his rice and beans with the coconut, you missed out. It was amazing. And just being at his house all the time, which was like a museum. He just had so much random stuff. Like, "And what are you doing with this, Sam?" He's like, "Yeah, these are seashells that I found on this trip to this." Okay. But he taught me to think. And I remember for years, through college and even after college, he would bring me with him while he taught. Don't let him know your schedule, because he'll fill it for you. And I remember following him, and one of the things I didn't like, but now I loved about Sam, is he made you a thinker. He never gave you an answer. So he would bring me with him to his classes, and he would say in the car afterwards, "What did you see?" And I'm like, "What? What do you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be watching you." And then I finally got it. He wants me to watch him. I was a more slower student, so forgive me. It took me a while to catch up to Sam and his thinking and all the different things. And over the years, as he started Missing Links and seeing it grow from 1 student to 4 students to coming back after college and seeing all these kids in full performances, it was like, wow, Sam, you did it. And I just continued to watch him and watch him. And if he was here today, I would tell him, "Sam, it worked." Today, I am the vocal director at a musical theater school. That's my night job, putting on different musicals. And during the day, I am the director of choral activities at the John D. O'Brien School of Mathematics and Sciences at one of the 3 exam schools in Boston Public Schools. So Sam, thank you for driving me crazy. It worked. Sorry. Like Trinidad said, he doesn't prepare you for this. Sam's one of those people that's just gonna be there forever. So I'm gonna offer one of the first songs he taught us, because Sam was all about Negro spirituals. One moment I have to change keys. I forgot Sam told me I was a countertenor, so I can't go down. he would get really upset if I didn't sing up the octave. Okay. Let me step out here, because we're also not supposed to be using microphones. I want to cross over into campground, deep river. My home is over Jordan, deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground. Oh, don't you want to go to that gospel feast, that promised land? To cross over into campground, I am seeking for a city. Hallelujah. I am seeking for a city. Hallelujah. For a city in heaven, hallelujah. For a city in heaven, hallelujah. Lord, I don't feel no tired. Children know, oh glory, hallelujah. Oh yeah, for I love to shout glory when this world is on fire. Children know, oh glory, hallelujah. Deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground.
One.
My cousin Sam was a creative genius. He was the one who inherited from our ancestors the spirit of creativity, a wild imagination, and the gift of artistry, music, song, and dance. Somehow, God decided that he should be the one in our family gifted with all of these talents combined. To know Sam was pure delight. I clearly remember when the Martinboroughs relocated to Guyana in 1975. We were excited to get reacquainted with our cousins. And oh boy, what a fun time it was. All of the Martinborough children were immensely talented. But Sam was special. He had a mischievous gleam in his eye and a ready, gleeful smile. He was excitable and full of ideas. Sam always had an idea. It seemed as if his mind worked overtime, non-stop, 24/7. He had a passion for music, acting, storytelling, song, and dance that was insatiable. I will never forget when he introduced me to the movies, My Fair Lady and the Wizard of Oz. Now, I had no reference point for these because back then we had no TV in Guyana, so I had not seen or heard of them. But that did not matter because Sam had seen them in the United States and had memorized them. He reenacted the entire movie, frame by frame, acting out various parts, playing each character with voiceovers and all. He sang every song, conducted orchestra, and vocalized each instrument, all from memory. It was truly amazing, and he was only 11 years old. He had phenomenal recall. I can go on and on about Sam's musical and artistic feats because there were many. He played the violin, sang in vocal groups. He was just highly musical. But those were not the only gifts Sam possessed. He also had a heart of gold. He inherited this from his parents, a passion for service and lifting up others. He dedicated part of his life to teaching and mentoring inner city youth and others of various ages in arts and theater. He helped them to pursue their dreams of higher education through his organization, Missing Links, in Boston, Massachusetts. Sam never hid his talents. He strove to perfect and share them with the world. During the final months of his father's life, Sam came to Florida to visit many times. The last time I saw him and spent quality time with him was on one of those trips. We talked about having a cultural experience, and the event was planned. My husband and I, along with my cousin John, were the audience. And Sam, he was the producer, director, and actor. What an exquisite evening it was. There were props, strobe lights, folklore, and the acting and storytelling were all done by Sam. He played every part. He then proceeded to have us solve riddles that he, of course, created. And then we had the drum playing session, experimenting with various beats and rhythms. Oh, what an absolute fun evening we had, exploring the creative sides of our brains with no reservations whatever. I have since come to recognize that that evening was Sam's last gift of himself to me. He made me happy, simply happy. I love my cousin Sam, and I'm glad I told him so. Now, the drums are silent. He is at peace, sleeping. But not for long. His creator, the one who gave him his unique gifts, will recreate him and restore him. And I can't imagine how Sam is going to tell that story. I can't wait to see him again on that glorious day. But for now, he rests, he sleeps, and I will carry the memory of him and smile, because his life was a gift to me and to all of us, with all of my love.
Good afternoon. My name is Nigel Hines, and I am Sammy's younger cousin. And I'm going to call him Sammy because there was a period of time where I knew him best, and he was Sammy at that time. I did not grow up with Sammy per se. He was born in Guyana, and I was born here in the States. And every now and then the family would get together and we'd see each other and say hi, bye, but I didn't know Sammy that well. And once he went to AUC up in Boston, we interacted a little, but not that much. But there was this little window of time where I got to know Sammy really well. And it was right around 1985. I was 15. Sammy may have been 18 or 19. And my parents sat me and my brother down and said, hey, we're having one of your older cousins come and live with us for a while. Might be about a year or so. It's Sammy. Like, oh, okay, Sammy. Yeah, no, Sammy. We'll get to know him a little better. And Nigel, he's going to take your room, and you're going to have to move in with your brother. What? Okay. And so we moved on. But I tell you, once Sammy walked in through that door, and again, I knew Sammy, but not that well, all of that stuff was gone. His laughter, his energy just kind of broke through. And if he was, to a certain extent, he was that older brother to me. His reason for coming to stay with us for a little while was that he was going to work to earn money to go to AUC. So he was just going to spend a year finding different jobs here or there. And as I reminisced with my parents, we talked about how he played the violin. He had his violin case. We'd wake up in the morning to violin music. We'd go to sleep to violin music there in our living room right by the piano. He was musical, no doubt about it. And so the first job that he got was a part-time job at Long's Christian Music Store. And they sold records, they had books, and he was in his element. He'd go there early, read books, sell music. You know, he'd stay there late and read books. Sam was, Kai just said avid reader. I say voracious. He was a voracious reader. He'd come with books 200, 300 pages long, and in 3 days, he's done. Another one down. You see a little stack of books. Unbelievable. And if anything, he taught me to really appreciate reading, because then he would share what he learned with us in his excitement. And so I really appreciated that about Sammy. And then shortly after working at Long's Christian Bookstore, we had one car, and me and my brother had to get to school, and my parents had to get to work. And he found a job, he needed a full-time job, and so he got a job with Toys R Us. Imagine Sammy at Toys R Us, and he was excited about this thing. Now the thing is, Toys R Us it's about 5 miles away from where we lived, and transportation was a little tricky. So we're like, well, Sammy, how are you going to get there? It's like, oh, walk, no problem. You know, no problem, I just walk. It's 5 miles. You're going to get there to work in time and get back. So my parents ended up getting him a 10-speed bicycle so he could ride to work. And he did that off and on, no complaints. Sometimes he'd have to get up pretty early in the morning, 4 or 5, in order to get to work on time. And one evening, Sammy should have been back, and he wasn't back yet. And so we're thinking, okay, what's going on here? You know, cell phones weren't as handy back then. And finally we heard someone come through the door, and Sammy's 10-speed bike had been stolen. And so he basically walked home from Toys R Us. But for him, you know, hey, I just had to walk. And I'm clear, as I hear all these different pieces, you know, this was a time where he honed his craft. When he rode his bike, when he talked, he thought a lot about what he wanted to do and where he wanted to be and how he wanted to express his influence on others. And that's something that will stay with me and my family, and we're just so thankful for that window of time. And I know every time that I got in touch with Sammy, we would reminisce on those times, and I look forward to when we'll be able to reminisce in the future. So rest in peace, Sam. See you in the morning.
I'm Bridget, and I'm Sam's cousin. And I stand here with a heart full of a gazillion different emotions. But the overwhelming one is excitement and joy. I didn't spend a lot of time with Sammy growing up, and he was Sammy then. But I do remember times when he came to our home in New York, and he was just a happy kid. And I don't know, I remember that about him. I don't remember being as impressed and as honored and as honored at that time to have known him. We grew, we got older, we saw each other occasionally, and I had the privilege of speaking with him. I had a concern that I was dealing with, a circumstance. And I was like, I'll call Sammy. And I called, and it was like we hadn't spoken in years, but it was so comfortable to talk with him. He was so easy to share with. And the insight and the feedback that he gave me was just so helpful. We stayed in contact, and then he started coming to Florida. Not under the best circumstances, but perfect circumstances, I would call them. We had the opportunity to connect a couple of times. The first time was, let's get together. We got packed schedules. How are we gonna do it? We had breakfast at 7:30 in the morning. And when he left, we talked, we joked. My husband was there. It was fun. He left, and we were refreshed. I was like, yeah, we got to do that again. So he comes back to Florida, and he says, we're gonna do it again. So he came, and we sat, and we talked, and he just shared. And I listened, and I shared, and he listened. And then we talked a couple other times, and then I found myself having to find words to say today. And there were a couple that stand out. One is courageous. Sam was courageous. It is not easy to feel different, to maybe even be labeled different, to walk through the world thinking that everybody thinks you're different. It's okay to be different if you're an apple and an orange. We are so okay with that. But when you are different than me, and I am different than you because we say so, and then we have to walk through the world like that, sometimes that's not, well, not sometimes, that's not easy. We act like it's easy, but it's not. We have a negative connotation for different. And this week, as I thought about what I had to say or wanted to say, it takes courage to walk through this world and be different. But that courage produces that. And that makes a difference in the world. And so when I think about different, when I thought about different, I got unique. Sam was different, and he was unique. And we had the privilege of having him in our lives. And I am also grateful. Sam was intentional. When he left one of the times he left, he said, when I come back, I'm gonna make my rounds and I'm gonna see all the people. And Sam came back and he made his rounds and he saw all the people. I don't know what Sam was thinking. I don't know what he knew. But he touched every one of us, I'm sure, before he left this earth. And as we all know, Sam was creative. Sam came to my house and he said, well, he called me and he said, Bridget, there's this thing I want to do. I'm like, Sam, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He said, I want to have the women get together, like a day of whatever, rest and relaxation, respite. I'm like, okay, Sam, how are we gonna do this? Because I'm thinking, you're talking to the wrong person for this, okay? And then the next time he called me, he had it all planned out. He said, I want to come to your house and I want to share it with you. I was like, okay. So he came to my house. And this was the thing. He came to my house. He had it all planned. He was sharing it with me. He was so excited about it. And he said, you know what? I don't know if what did he say? He said, I am making this and I'm leaving this with you, because he was going back. And he said, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, great. I just had fun creating it. And I'm like, who does that? And he, I am so thrilled to have had him in my life. He's family, and you would just think you would say that about family, but he was more than family. He was like an ordinary, extraordinary person that I had an opportunity to rub shoulders with. And so I'm just grateful, and I guess I would say thank you to you for bringing him into this world. But I really do praise God for having him. I thought at one point, man, I'm gonna miss, because I looked forward to spending more moments with him. I thought, I'm gonna miss that. And then I thought, yeah, no, I'm not gonna miss that. I am gonna be so thankful and so happy and experience being so blessed to have had him. So, thank you.
It's interesting what you learn about people at an occasion like this. Sammy's my cousin. I've known him a long time, and I've learned a lot today. Seeing him in those pictures was so inspiring to me. It almost made me feel that I would sing. But that would be foolish. Especially after Jermaine sang. That would be foolish. I don't know if tributes have titles, but this one has two. The first title is There's No Next Time, There's Only Now. That's number one. And that's because we tend to have the belief that because we had yesterday and because we have today, we will have tomorrow. But we know how faulty that is. The second title is Be Careful How You Tell the Story. And I don't mean the stories that we tell each other, I mean the stories that we tell ourselves. Because sometimes the stories we tell ourselves reflect reality, and sometimes those stories are actually shaping and framing reality. And so I had to go through an experience after Sammy died. So I'll go back. If I think about my relationship with Sammy, it started when we were children, and like Bridget said, we didn't get to spend a lot of time together as children because we lived in New York and the Martinboroughs lived everywhere else. Either they were in Guyana or Trinidad or California and then back to somewhere, and so always someplace else. So we got snippets of time. But the first time I remember spending extended time with him was probably in 1984 or so. I was home in Brooklyn from college, and he was in New York, and we spent probably 2 straight weeks together, I'm thinking. If anyone knows that I'm wrong, don't correct me. This is just how I'm remembering it. So we spent probably 2 weeks straight together, and we drove all over Brooklyn. We visited people he knew, we visited people I knew. And at the time, I was building my gospel music collection. So we went to every music store we could find in Brooklyn prior to Google. So I'd play the tapes in the car, and Sammy would give his analysis on the orchestration and the arrangement and the voices. And then I'd give my analysis, and my analysis was something like, I like the way that one sounds. And I don't like that one so much. That was my full and complete analysis. So then we fast forward to 1991. We're living in Maryland, and Nadine and I are planning our wedding. And I remember Sammy's love for music, and I thought, we'll ask Sammy to play the violin. So he came and he played the violin. And of course, the wedding is very busy. We didn't get to speak a lot with him. I hugged him, I thanked him for being there. And I said, Sammy, thank you, and we'll spend more time next time. A couple of years later, he was back in Maryland. He was living in Boston, and I think he was directing 2 choirs. Based on the sound of it, it could have been many choirs, but he was directing at least 2 choirs, and he brought one of them to Maryland to sing at Tacoma Academy, where Nadine was teaching at the time. The thing is, we didn't know in advance he was coming. So by the time I found out, I wasn't going to be able to make it. I worked up in Gaithersburg. Tacoma Academy is in Tacoma Park. And I said, Nadine, tell Sammy I'd love to see him, but I can't make it. We'll catch up next time. Fast forward to 2007 or so. Everyone's in town. We're all here for Aunt Waveney's 70th birthday party. And after the program, Sammy and I go off and we're chatting and we're trying to make up time, and we're filling in gaps, and we're spending some time together. And we didn't get to complete our conversation because we were interrupted by other family. So we cut the conversation short, and we said, Sammy, we'll catch up next time, man. We'll spend some more time next time. Fast forward to 2021. This is now June, just a few months ago. And Sammy's in town, and he calls and he says, I'm in town, Ray, I'd like to stop by. And I said, how about we go out to dinner? Because now I was going to be selfish. I wanted some one-on-one time, and you and I are going to go out to dinner. So that's what we did. And we had a great time. We talked and we laughed. You know, recently we were talking about Uncle Gordon's laugh. Sammy's laugh is no joke. Sammy's laugh is no joke. We had a great conversation. We talked all night. It was dark. And then we separated, and he went back home. I went back home. And then we're getting ready for Uncle Gordon's funeral. So he called, and he was talking about coming, and we were talking through some logistics about the church or something like that. And then when he didn't come to the funeral, I got a little bit concerned, and a couple days later, I called him to see if he was okay. And he said he was okay, but he said, Ray, I'm probably not going to come in July because we had plans to go out again in July. He said, I probably won't come in July. I'm not feeling that well, so we'll put our plans on hold. We'll see each other next time. I said, that's no problem. You take care of yourself, and when you're here, then we'll spend the time. Well, the next events happened all in maybe 3 weeks, but in my mind, it probably is like 3 or 4 days. So not feeling well became a visit to the emergency room. He had pneumonia. He was admitted. He was on oxygen. He was on life support. And before you knew it, it was August 27, and I'm calling to say goodbye. And I was frustrated, and I was even angry. But who am I going to be angry with? And then over time, over these recent days, I started to realize if I tell the story like that, it will only fuel my frustration and fuel my anger because I thought I was robbed of time with Sammy. So it took me maybe up until yesterday or the day before to realize sometimes you have to find the blessing in the story. It's not always obvious. And the blessing is that day that we spent together, if it were possible to make up for many years in one evening, that's what we did. We quickly dispensed with the superficial conversation. Then we talked about current events and politics and corona and social justice and everything. And then we went to the next level and we talked about family and upbringing and culture and heritage and ancestry. We covered all of that. And if we would have stopped the evening there, we would have left satisfied that we spent good time. But something said, I wanted to ask him one more thing. Sammy, just tell me, how are you? And what's going on with you? How have you been doing lately? And we talked some more. Now it was dark and it was time to leave. And I felt full and I felt blessed. And I have now a new way to remember the story, and I will be happy to remember Sammy just like he was that day. That will be the memory that sticks with me. I can see him, I can hear him, and I can hear his laugh. And thank God that we were able to spend that time. That's my story, and that's the way I'll tell it. I'm still not going to sing, but now Carolyn will sing, and I think she'll be on the video.
And you need some peace, more to get your breakthrough. Haven't you been struggling long enough? Make your way down to the altar, hand it over and leave it there. Gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. So everything that you've been worried about, you needed to work it out.
First, giving glory and honor to God for his loving kindness and for his wonderful works to the children of man. That's my first thing that I want to say. The second thing I want to say is we should really stop meeting like this. I stand today on behalf of my family, this time to honor my brother Sam. And so many have asked, how we're doing. And of course, it's just impossible to describe, right? But it's easy to imagine the inexpressible loss and pain and grief in this place that we're in. My dad was 84 years old. He lived a long and very successful life. And, we knew he was fading, and we walked that path with him. My mom, John, Sam, our wonderful extended family here, and myself. But, Sam was so young and so vibrant, and his passing, as Ray said, was just so sudden and so unexpected that we're just like in this crazy state of like shock and disbelief. But what is humanly impossible to conceive, we've been given the strength to bear. And so we wanted to just thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because your love has just really surrounded us, and your prayers have lifted us, and God has carried us. And so in spite of everything, we are just grateful. We're grateful. We wanted to thank those who have joined us, our family today, and we wanted to thank those who have joined online as well. We wanted to say a special thanks to all of those who just helped us put the memorial service together. Everyone did such a fantastic job. Thank you to all of the participants for the beautiful tributes. We wanted to say thank you to Jessamine Martin for the stunning photographs that she took of Sam. We wanted to thank Erin Anguish, because she's the videographer for Sam, and she's allowed us to have Sam live on in a real way. We wanted to thank Jacqueline Carroll, who rallied and organized us when we felt we didn't have the strength to even begin. To Bridget, thank you so, so much for guiding us to our speaker today, who's going to be Chaplain Wanda Davis. She is inspirational and phenomenal. Over 30 years of being a chaplain, and she's an admirer of Sam, and so we just wanted to say thank you. And we just wanted, of course, to say a special thank you to Kaija, who has done just a phenomenal job of organizing and getting all the videos together and editing the sound and touching up every little bit, and helping our streaming team to make this memorial service a celebration that Sam would have really enjoyed. And so we just wanted to say thank you. Now, I'm sure you figured out by now that this is a very different celebration than the one we had from my dad. And it is as it should be. And although they appear to be just vastly different people, they were actually not that different. They were both just brilliant and creative and deeply spiritual and passionate, just in different spheres and in different ways. Since we were children, Sam had this knack for choral directing and choreography. We lived in my grandmother's house, Mom's house, when we were in Guyana, and there was a little mini patio, and Sam turned that into a mini stage. And he recruited like every little toy thing that we had, toy figurines, toy animals, those board pizzas that come with games. He had those. And he formed this choir. And I became increasingly distressed after one by one, my cherished dolls became permanently recruited into Sam's choir. And what was amazing was that he always had different formations, and every day it was different. Some days it was a staggered formation, and some days there were 3 or 4 here or there. And I never actually saw him, rearrange all of this, but it was like magic. Every morning we'd go out to the veranda like, oh, there's something new. And this really became like Sam's MO. Everything he did was always visually stunning and inspiring and creative. When we had Karma Chorale, had this little chorale that we were so proud of, and Sam used his skills, and every single one of our 10 songs was choreographed. And he just always wanted to just have it be engaging. And in the same way as every single toy and piece was included in Sam's choir, Sam included everyone. And you've seen the pictures. Age didn't matter. Race didn't matter. Social background didn't matter. As a matter of fact, the more disadvantaged the background, the more engaged Sam became. Talent didn't even matter. Talent didn't matter. Sam didn't care if you could sing or perform. Now, don't get me wrong. Jermaine is a testimony that if you were musically talented, in Sam's direction, you became exceptional. But if you weren't musically inclined, then an incredible thing happened. Sam instilled that confidence in you to make you great. He didn't see the world as we see it, I don't think, with its divisions of young versus old and race and culture and the seeming impenetrable walls of privilege versus not. He just saw people. And he was equally comfortable teaching classical music as he was African drum beats and Hebrew chants and Native American music. Sam expanded the circle to include everyone. Sam invested in young people, and as you've heard, his methods were just captivating and engaging. Sam found it missing links to provide what was missing musically, but also, really more importantly, what was missing in terms of coping skills, missing life skills, missing support. And he did this with bright costumes and telling stories written by Black and brown playwrights and musicians, and with sets that he hand-designed and made himself, bringing to churches and to stages dazzling productions, the culmination of long and disciplined rehearsals, hours of coaching and mentorship, and relentless training. And so in his ingenious way, Sam used his musical talents to bring an unlikely collection of people together and to completely change the trajectory of so many lives. Sam mentored and affirmed in his way. So Marco organized what ended up to be our last family vacation together. And that vacation was a gift. It was when Daddy said goodbye. He went around the room and thanked each one of us and affirmed us and said he was proud. And, Sam had been coming, as you've heard, a lot to Florida in those days. And this house that we stayed on, that's Marco organized, was on the beach. None of us Martinboroughs can swim, despite many attempts to correct that. We can't swim, but we love the water. And so Sam was there, standing in about this much of water, looking out onto the water. And he gestures to us, and he's like, come. So John and I run over to see what all of the excitement is about. We don't see anything. So he's like, wait. This is typical Sam, like, wait. So we wait. And a wave comes in, and a wave goes out, and a wave comes in and goes out, and we're waiting. And then we see them, like hundreds of small shells that suddenly appear onto the beach. They must have been some small sea crustaceans or something. And it was so beautiful. It was the white, rose, and pink chorus of these sea creatures choreographed with the waves. And here's the thing, Mommy and I had walked that beach earlier that day and we hadn't seen them. And Daddy had sat laughing as the water had fallen over him and he didn't see them. And Marco, in typical fashion, was out swimming, like way, way out there. He didn't see them. And John was sitting quietly at the beach, and he did not see them. Only Sam saw them. And it was his way to show us, to direct us, to compel us to see the wonder and the beauty and the potential that's right there in front of our eyes if we would just wait and see. And Sam had a unique capacity to experience wonder and beauty. And I must admit, I did not always understand Sam. You know, my logical, career-focused, type A personality didn't always allow my heart to see and understand a path that seemed to meander and appear so uncertain. But here's the thing, not all those who wander are lost. And it takes a tremendous amount of faith and courage, as Bridget said, to forge a new and a different path. And so when we rushed into that hospital room, with the IV and the antibiotics attempting to unsuccessfully clear his lung infection and the ventilator that was trying to assist his failing heart, and the cooling blanket that, was attempting to cool his body, when we saw him, none of our misunderstandings, the little things, it didn't matter. None of it mattered. I just saw the brother who I've loved all my life. And that's the only way to expand the circle, to include us all. It is the only way to effectively mentor and affirm. It is the only way to experience the wonder and the beauty. And that is if love is in the center. We wanted as a family to speak to our community of faith, especially our Adventist community. And I'm going to do it in a Sam-esque way, which is to ask like the crazy, most impossible question, of which the answer is going to be like, no, but just off-the-wall question. So here's the off-the-wall question. Do you know why Eutychus fell out of the window? I told you it would be off the wall. And I'd like to thank Pastor Burton, my young pastor, for this insight. So it's this biblical story of this young man named Eutychus who comes to a service in which Paul is preaching. He sits at an open window, he falls asleep, and he falls out. So why is he sitting at this window in the first place? Well, maybe it was packed out. Maybe there was no place in the pews. But maybe no one made space for him in the pews. And so he sits at the window and he falls asleep. Why does he fall asleep? Because it's way too long, it's dead boring, and it's not engaging. And so out the window he tumbles 3 stories to his death. And Paul's response is not to shrug his shoulders and be like, well, maybe, he didn't want the gospel, can't save everybody. His response was to stop in mid-sentence, to rush down those 3 stories and floors and throw himself around this young man and to engage him, for the first time to engage him. And by engaging him, by the power that was given him from above, he gives life. At my father's celebration, we as a family set out to inspire, for a higher ground, to just challenge everyone for a higher ground in terms of service and in terms of ministry. And for this celebration, we are imploring you. We're imploring you, as we're bowed down here with grief, we are imploring you with a message of inclusion. Not the high and lofty, somewhat boring principles that we all say we adhere to, but the kind of inclusion that wraps its arms around and truly engages. And an engagement that's willing to run down from wherever we are, stop what we're doing and run down from wherever we are, and with the power given to each one of us from above to give life. And we are challenging you to do this by being yourself. Not the person that everyone wants or expects you to be, but the wonderful person that you truly are, using all of the talents and all of the gifts that you've been given. Because all are welcome, all are needed. All of us are welcome at the Master's table.
Thank you, Esther. What Esther didn't tell you was that she and John, plus her friends, who were the ones who planned this program. Thank you, John. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you. Love you, Mommy.
It's just the three of us. We're going to love each other.
Yes.
And to work with each other. One of these days we'll see Sam. We will see Pastor Martinborough again. Maybe all of us sitting here, thank you for coming. May we all be ready to meet not only Jesus, but meet the rest of the family and be together in the earth made new. God bless you.
Amazing, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saves a child like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. 'Twas grace that brought us safe safe thus far, and grace will lead us
Thank God for grace. Amazing grace. My condolences to Sister Martinborough, Esther, John, the family, and the friends that are gathered there. It is my honor and privilege to share with you what I have learned from you today. What I've learned, because I didn't know Sam. The story. What a story. The Bible says that we are an epistle in 2 Corinthians verses 3-2, chapter 3, verse 2, that we are a story, and I have heard a marvelous story of joy and commitment, of empowering and nurturing. And I want to share with you. I have been a chaplain for 38 years. As a chaplain, my job was to help people with interpretation. What is your story about? And one of the things I love are names, because in the Bible, the meaning of a name is important. God would change people's names to reflect their character. And so I want to tell you about the name Samuel, Sam. And I want to tell you a couple stories. Samuel. The name means told by God. Imagine a name meaning this story is told by God. Well, Samuel, 2 books in the Bible. This prophet, this gift, he came as a gift from a praying mother who agonized before the Father, and he gave her the gift of Samuel, and he became a great and marvelous prophet. He wandered about teaching and blessing and nourishing and nurturing and empowering. He was a man of vision, a man of joy, but he was also stern. He didn't put up with foolishness. He would tell you to sit down, be still in a minute. He was accomplished. He was one of the greatest prophets in the scriptures. He was also a judge, and he would teach and command kings. He would anoint, he would call into other people's lives new beginnings. He would give definitions to their lives that they did not even know about. That was Samuel. And that was Samuel, according to you all stories. You're telling me that that's what he did, that he spoke, that he embraced. In fact, what I heard about missing links, and that people couldn't find it on the internet because it had no eyes in it. So, and I thought, whoa, what a great sermon that would be. Missing links. The eyes need to come out. But listening to your stories, I've heard all the eyes that have been included by Samuel, individual. He was his own person. He was his own gift from always. He was the gift. And he could take anybody's toys and make them sing. He could take non-singers and speak into their lives gifts, and they would become, wow, what a prophet, what a visionary, what a person that could see beyond and find shells on the water when nobody else could see them. But he was also intentional. He had a plan, and he would operate in that plan. He was focused, and his plan was to empower everybody to live in their spiritual gifts. Wow, what a visionary he was. What a man of power and certainty and calling and anointing. Someone whose story is told by God, different from everybody else, but told by God. Also impassioned. He had a focus of bringing life and joy and hope and singing. And so we sing. And so we sing. We will continue to sing because he gave us songs that will continue to resonate in our lives. And inclusive. Every kind of person, young and old and black and white and Spanish and fat and skinny. Oh, I love it. It was for such a time as this that our Samuel, told of God, is here to teach us, to call us. You are the story, Samuel. You are our epistle, written in our hearts, known and read of all men. 2 Corinthians 3, verse 2. He was a story that was told correctly, and it forces us to think about what we believe is truth. God is so marvelous. He's got the most strange stories. The Bible's full of them. And so every good and perfect gift, the Bible says, every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of lights, and in him is no shadow of turning. Samuel was the gift to his mama, to his brothers, his sisters. He was a gift to his cousins and his friends and all those children, all those people that he touched with his singing. He's a gift to me because I love this. I love the smile. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And he lived joy. He lived what God has called us to do, to love people. We'll know that you are Christians by love, not by facts, not by knowing the 2,300 days theories. You will know that you're Christians by love. And he did love. Apparently he loved birds and flowers and trees and could even find a chorus in an ocean. Well, I'm a chaplain, and so I have learned that God uses all these stories to grow us, to teach us, to set us free. And I found some quotes of Sam's. One of them was, "We think music heals the soul and heals the complications of the heart." And so part of his prophet's message was, sing. And so we sing. And so we sing. And you all sang some of the songs. God gave us a heart to share his love. I'm something special. Over and over, you all said the same stories. It's marvelous. I had run grief support groups for years, and one that was stuck in my mind, I had a gentleman that came for a couple of years. And after a year, after his wife died, he came and he said, "Chaplain, my grandson," I was on the phone with my grandson, who was at the time about 4 years old. The grandmother had died a year before. And he was talking to his grandson. The little boy said, "Granddad, let me speak to Grandma." Threw him off balance, caused him pain all over again because it was a year now. And the grandfather tried to explain to his grandchild, you remember we went to the funeral. Grandmama's not here anymore. Remember we saw her in the casket. And after he finished all his explanation, the little boy again said, "Granddad, I want to speak to Grandma." And he tried to explain again, and he was getting frustrated. And the little boy just said, "I want to speak to Grandma." So he asked for the little boy's mama. He called his daughter to the phone and said, "He's asking for Grandma." And so the mama tried to explain to the little boy, Grandma's not here. She died. She passed. And she explained. The little boy got on the phone again with his grandfather. And he said, Granddad, let me speak to Grandma. And he said to his grandfather, Granddad, put your phone to your heart and let me speak to Granddad. Let me speak to Grandma. Put the phone to your heart and let me speak to Grandma. When he shared that story, I was amazed again that children are our best teachers, except you become converted and become like them with wonder and with all the joy and the hope. Let me speak. Sam, the aroma of Sam still lives in your hearts. Every song, The Wiz, The Wizard of Oz, Sound of Music, you will remember Sam. Seashells will make you remember Sam because he was this story. And that story will live in your sharing and in your singing and in your theatrics. You will still see him. You will smell him. You will know him. You will be reminded. And then you live the gift that he has lived for us. It was said earlier that death is an enemy and that it's a pain. It causes us hurt. But I've got good news. The good news is when our Christ arose, he said he has the keys to death, hell, and the grave. That's the good news. Death won't hold us down. Good news. We will rise as he's risen again. But for now, today is the day. Wait. Like Esther said, wait. Just wait. The good news is on the horizon. The good news is here for us. And that aroma of Sam can still be our song. Embracing, nurturing, being individual, being intentional, being impassioned, being inclusive. We are the missing link, and together we can share the good news that because Christ lives, we also will live. God bless you, family, as you heal and grow up in him. And I'm so thankful that you have shared his story with me. His story of joy and hope and peace and wonder and delight. Father, bless us, heal us, and we pray that we will continue to sing his songs and sing the songs of hope and blessing. Now, I would invite you to join in a moment of silent prayer. Bless us, Lord. God, thank you. Thank you, Lord. You brought me through it. Jesus.
To chapped, bruised, and broken hearts. close friend once said, of those whose earthbound bridge have crossed, of those left behind, some burden was lifted, replaced with wafted balm, scented calm. My beloved, to your heart's whispers, they may have left, and in their place blaze beacons beckoning bright, enticing you to walk. Enticing you to walk your path, your life. Your way. Head upheld, back upright. So, to Uncle Rudolph's erstwhile wit and Lady P's enormous heart, rest not. Rest not in peace. Dim not. Dim not thy light. Sing out. Sing. Sing strong. Sing out. Sing strong. Thine love. Our song.
Hello. I would like to invite everyone to join the family outside for the butterfly release. And all you watching online, please stay tuned. Thank you.
Yeah, my parents tried to give me piano lessons for my 6th birthday. And I was like, I don't want to play piano. A lot of harpists start out on piano. Oh, have a microfiber?
I have been there.
You want me to grab it? Because I need to go in there.
Sure. Okay, it's in the backpack.
Where are
It's
we,
like a
Tasha,
tiny
where are we
little
supposed to stand? Are we supposed to sit down or what?
You can do whatever you want. It's free flowing. There's no rules. You can stand, you can sit, you can lay in the grass.
But where are they going to do it? From that little
Yeah,
circle
I think-
thing?
yes, yes.
Okay, well, that's what we need to know
around
what
the
we're
circle.
doing. Okay. I guess they're going to go down by the circle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everyone wants to go on the grass or not, but.
Thank you.